Hoyoverse, a game development company known for bringing gacha games into the mainstream, with Genshin Impact expanding open-world exploration to mobile gamers, Honkai Star Rail mixing Space Odyssey with distinct episodic stories across planets, and their newest available game, Zenless Zone Zero, also becoming popular with its urban fantasy setting and dynamic animations. But did you know Hoyoverse has a fourth game that came out in China the same year as Genshin Impact and became available globally a year after? Yes, it is an Otome game called Tears of Themis. Hi, I'm Gaeulsky, VTuber and artist, and early in my streaming career, I actually exclusively played Otome games. Now, an Otome game is a type of romantic visual novel game where you play as a female main character with multiple male love interest routes or stories to choose from, with usually a main canonical story. I've mostly played console Otomes, but the one live service game I have stuck with is Tears of Themis. Tears of Themis is arguably Hoyoverse's most underrated game. It's a unique mix of mystery, romance, and character-driven storytelling. In the game, you play as a female attorney in the city of Stellus, and eventually her senior partner in the Themis law firm, Artem Wing, introduces her to a top-secret private intelligence group called N2X Investigations, named after the illegally developed pharmaceutical drug N2X, currently on the black market. In the group are also the renowned psychiatrist Vin Richter and the acting president of the conglomerate Pax Group, Marius von Hagen. Before the game starts, two other members of the N2X investigation team, Arnu's mentor Neil and Marius's older brother Jian, had recently disappeared, leading to the recruitment of both the main character and the addition of a private investigator named Luke Pearce. Now, I've been playing this game for over 4 years. I've followed every update, story chapter, character event, etc. In fact, I even made a video on this channel years ago reflecting on the first year of playing the game. But today, I want to start a series of analyzing different characters in the game with the Enneagram typing system. So what is the Enneagram typing system? Well, Enneagram is a syncretically developed personality typing system, much like the Myers-Briggs type indicator, and it's focused on categorizing personalities into one of 9 types based on one's desire, fear, and motivation. Like the MBTI, Enneagram is considered to be pseudoscientific, so I personally prefer to use it only for character analysis and developing original characters. This is because the fear, desire, motivation framework of Enneagram fits quite neatly into designing character arcs. Unlike real people, characters need to stay consistent, especially in motivation, so Enneagram really helps with that. And in this video, I want to make the argument that one of the love interests in Tears of Themis, Luke Pearce, is an Enneagram Type 9 Peacemaker with an 8 wing. So I'll cover the wing part of this at the end, but let's talk a little bit about who Luke Pearce is. At the start of the game, you learn that Luke is the childhood best friend of the main character, who I'll call by her code name Rosa from now on, and he even was taken in by Rosa's parents after losing his own parents at a young age. However, the pair have not seen each other for 8 years after he was admitted early into National Central University during high school. So when they meet up again at the start of the game, main story, he learns that he's a private investigator, antique shop owner, and a hobby photographer. But later she learns the real reason why he hasn't contacted her in 8 years, and it's because he's a secret agent for the National Security Bureau, or NSB, as well, and that's actually the real reason why he's joined the N2X investigation team. Moreover, from the player's perspective, we learn early on that Luke is terminally ill due to being previously exposed to the N2X toxin. So this investigation is personal to him beyond national security. What makes him a Type 9? Well, Type 9s are known for fearing loss and separation, a desire for inner stability or peace of mind, and they're mainly motivated by trying to create harmony in their immediate environment. They don't like conflicts, they don't like tension, and they kind of want to stick with the status quo, even if it's not necessarily the best for them, because they're afraid that whatever change could happen would actually further upset or disturb them and make things worse. So I want to provide some examples of how Luke has these aspects of Type 9. And we're going to start with how he avoids confrontation and wants to maintain harmony. So there are multiple modes of play in Tears of Themis. For example, the main story, which is the canonical story of the N2X investigation. But we also have the romantic side stories, which are more personal to each individual love interest, and it's only showing the love interest. Those are called personal stories, and it's also shown in the card stories as well. So in a lot of the personal and the card story moments between Luke and Rosa, Luke is actually rather protective of Rosa. And whenever she pushes back or challenges Luke, he's very quick to capitulate to her, as well as let her have her way of doing whatever they're going to do. And that's because he doesn't want to have an extended fight with Rosa. He always makes like a really shocked face and like trying to calm her down, speaking very quickly to mitigate the tension or conflict between them. And the same thing happens in the main story a lot, because there's 4 guys, they're all intelligent, and now Rosa's there too, and because it's an Otome game, they're also all kind of have crushes on her and are competing for her attention. So there's a little bit of competition and tension and banter between the guys, and I'm not saying that Luke doesn't participate in the banter. Okay, he might be Type 9, but he's still a guy. But there are multiple moments when he's one of the first people to step in to calm the tension or to redirect the banter into the main mission point. One good example is the guys are all kind of bragging a little bit of what they can do and what their credentials are. But once Vin drops his line about having 2 doctorate degrees, Luke is the one to be like, okay, are we done yet? Are we done now? Do we have to keep fighting? So that's a good example of that. Other times is when there are certain moments of tension, especially between Artem and Vin, Luke is the one to really chime in and say, okay, this is what I can do just to redirect the conflict. And he's also the one that's most willing to defer to the other guys for help. This ends up coming up later when he's unable to get admission to a certain event, and so he actually has to rely on Marius to get that for him, because Marius is the rich guy. This becomes a point of banter between the two. But yes, he's definitely the most willing, the humble one in the situation, just to avoid conflict and having a huge argument between himself and another person. Now, another aspect of Type 9s I didn't talk about so much is self-sacrifice aspect of it. They tend to resign themselves to whatever their current situation is, not because they don't want those improvements, but because they're afraid that making those kinds of moves would actually make things worse. And so an example of this is he's terminally ill. And I said the player knows he's terminally ill, but the rest of the group doesn't know for much of the start of the game. And part of that is because he doesn't want Rosa to know. So I think if Rosa wasn't in the group, that might have changed things about his relationship with the NTX investigation team that he was going to join anyway under NSB orders. But since Rosa's there, he's now suddenly not wanting to be open about the fact that he's been poisoned and that he's deathly ill. And so that is an example of him not wanting to rock the boat between him and Rosa. Not to mention, because he is ill, he doesn't want to confess his feelings for her that he's had since he was a child, because starting a relationship with her while he's so ill would end up burdening her and also end up causing her to lose him eventually. And so he doesn't want that to happen, so that's another reason why he sacrifices his own happiness in order to prevent her from losing him. And not only that, what makes this worse is that actually early on in his time as a secret agent, he did get poisoned, and so he's been going through treatment for a while. And during that time, he's like, well, I'm terminally ill, so there's no point reconnecting with her. So, and he had ended up having to be convinced by other people, and as well as seeing his colleague go through a similar situation of dying from a terminal cancer. It made him change his mind and reframe his thinking. But without that, he would have just continued on, but just not reconnecting with Rosa. Another example of his self-sacrificial tendencies is the team are beta testing a VR game. And in the VR game, they finally reached the final boss section, and things aren't going well for them in the game. And it's just a game, but even there, he's like, okay, let me sacrifice myself, and the rest of you can run off and regroup to fight the boss again. And Marius is actually the one to say, no one's gonna die in the game. So yes, it wasn't that serious because it was in the game, but it shows a little bit of how Luke would act like even in real life. He's willing to sacrifice himself in order to save others and not lose the people he cares about. He'd rather be the person that's lost than to lose the people he cares about. This is crazy. There's another example of fear of loss, which is, as I said, Luke wasn't always terminally ill, right? So what prevented him from confessing his love to Rosa when he was younger? When he was a teenager or a young child, he didn't want to confess his feelings to her because he was afraid that would ruin the friendship. And that's common in friends to lovers tropes where characters are like, I don't want to confess my love because I'll ruin the friendship and I'll lose my friend. So that was the same thing for him. He didn't want to lose his friend. And so that's why he never told her. Another example of this fear of loss or confronting the idea of losing someone is one of his birthday stories recently, where he has this time capsule from his parents that they had made when he was born. And he still had it with him. He still had it in his possession, but he doesn't want to open it. He's kind of avoiding the subject, actually. Whenever Rosa tries to get him to talk about it, be like, oh, well, you have this time capsule. Let's open it. I think it's about time. But he always avoids the conversation, tries to talk about something else, or talking about, they're reorganizing the house, so that's what he wants to focus on. And eventually she has to put her foot down and be like, okay, let's open this. This is important. You need to know what's in here. And that'll actually give you the closure that you want. And what prevented him from looking at it is he didn't want to experience the feeling of losing his parents again, because he already experienced something like that when he was younger. And not only that, he has a very hazy memory of them, and he's afraid that what he would see in this time capsule would either affect his perception of them or make him feel like they would be disappointed with him if they were alive still. It's very weird, but it makes sense if he's a type 9, right? I'm going to interrupt this analysis of Luke by thanking everyone for helping me monetize this channel. I've recently been approved to become a YouTube partner, which means that I can open memberships for the channel. So right now, my offers to members is 2 tiers. All tiers gets the exclusive emotes as well as badges showing how long you've been a member. And then the higher level tier also comes with a thank you credit at the end of all my videos. So I'll show your name in my video if you're in the higher tier. And I appreciate anyone who pitches in. This is my first time experiencing the members feature in YouTube. So hopefully I'll be able to add more features, but right now this is what I can offer. And thank you so much. Your support allows me to create more videos like this. And even if you can't join the membership, I appreciate every view, comment, sharing. Everything helps in getting this channel into the algorithm. So thank you so much. Now, finally, we're gonna talk about the wing thing. What did I mean by wing? I said that he was a wing 8. Not everyone agrees with this system, but some people, when they do Enneagram typing, they also consider this feature called wings, and a wing can only be a type that's adjacent to the main type. So he could either be a 9 wing 1 or a 9 wing 8. So what determines these is basically which features of 1 versus 8 are most like the character. Let's talk about 1s first. So 1s are known as the reformer, and their biggest fear is being corrupt, being evil, being defective, and they have a strong desire to be good and blameless and perfect. They want to do the right thing. They want to improve on everything. They want to strive towards a higher ideal, and they want to be able to justify whatever their actions they do as the morally correct thing. They don't want to be criticized. Don't want to do anything that's considered wrong. In contrast, the type 8 is known as challenger. They fear being harmed or controlled by others. They desire to protect themselves, and their main motivation is to be self-reliant. They want to be strong. They don't want to be perceived as weak. They want to have control of whatever situation that they're in, and doing so by dominating the environment and being the most important person in the room. They're the leadership type. Luke has aspects of both. Like, he's a sacred agent. He's a private investigator, so of course he wants to do the right thing. But at the same time, he can be rather assertive. He does have some of those leadership qualities that type 8s have. Now, why did I pick 8 over 1? Well, as I said, yes, he's a secret agent, so he wants to do the right thing, but there are also points when secret agents do a little bit of shady things. I don't think I have to go into further about that. And Luke never feels hesitant about doing gray area things, like interrogating people and using the techniques that he knows for interrogation. And he never goes like, wait, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing something that will keep me blameless? So I don't think he's a wing 1, but I do think he's a wing 8. One of the things that stood out for me for 8 is a need to be in control. Now, he doesn't want to be in control in the sense that he wants to be the leader in every situation. In the NTX group, he often works as more of a support. One example of this is that when he and Marius are doing a mission together, just on the two of them, he kind of follows Marius's lead because he knows that Marius has a grander plan in his mind. That's not how he's an 8, but he does want to be in control in a different way. He wants to be in control in the sense that everyone is safe. He doesn't want to have any unknown factors that would put someone in danger. And if someone is in danger, then he feels like he's at fault for that. And so that's why I think he's an 8. Another thing, too, is that he's always willing to jump into the fight and protecting either Rosa or another member of N2X who are not as martially gifted as him. Anyway, back to the sense of control. As I said before, he's very protective of Rosa. And protectiveness, what is that? What's another way of saying it? You want to be in control of the situation. One example is, I believe, the early card story where he and Rosa are on a tropical island trip, and he's just a ball of anxiety about all the things that could be dangerous to Rosa. He tries to plan every minute of their itinerary, and eventually she's like, you need to calm down, okay? I can take care of myself, and you don't have to feel like you have to take on the burden of taking care of me. Another example is when they're doing the paintball tournament, and he kind of just takes charge of that paintball tournament because he's good at it and he doesn't want her to get hurt. But she's like, well, I don't feel like I'm gonna win if it's just you doing everything. So eventually he lets her kind of have fun in the tournament as well. So those are 2 early card examples. He's definitely gotten better at communicating with Rosa and being less anxiety driven, so he's improved on that. But it shows that his true disposition does lean towards wing 8 versus 1. Alright, so this is the end of the video. Hopefully I showed how Luke clearly is a 9 wing 8 by his tendency to avoid conflict, maintain harmony, sacrifice himself first before others, being protective of others, and being assertive and decisive when it's necessary. And I hope you look forward to me hyping the other guys in the game, as well as maybe Rosa too, we'll see. And if you want to check out my other videos, I do a lot of different videos that are based on stories that inspire me. So a lot of them you might have noticed are Korean history based or Korean archaeology and art. And you might be wondering, what's the point of this channel? Why does this channel feel disjointed with many different topics? But my main theme for this channel is storytelling. So whatever the video that's come out, I just hope that it inspires you to create something based on what I've taught or said in a video, just because these are the things that inspire me. Enneagram inspires me to create characters. History and art inspires me to figure out plots or cultural elements. So hopefully that helps you in getting creative about things that you want to make and stories that you want to tell. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're still here, comment the word ravens. I'll know that you watched everything. And I'll catch you next time. Bye!